Hi, today I'm going to be showing a Sipahi 9-2 split opening. The idea of this build is to build off of what Naomi and Drongo kind of popularized with English in terms of a 9-2 split in Dark Age as a very efficient way to get out of Dark Age and into Feudal. I'm going to be using that with the Ottomans here to have a very economy focused opening that can also field Sipahi quickly. And the idea of here is to kind of build towards a bigger push by getting these earlier upgrades, as well as taking advantage of the Season 5 buffs at Spahi to potentially, harass and pressure those much more. So what we're going to start with here is the standard, keep some villagers. We're going to bonk a sheep, and we're going to take one villager, send him to gold. You do want to make sure the sheep gets under the TC before it falls, otherwise your villagers will be less efficient. And we're going to go through here. The first villager out will take a second sheep, and then the next villager will go to gold, and on the way build a house. And then we're going to go up to 9 on food, 2 on gold. So it's a very straightforward start to our Dark Age here. Meanwhile, with scouting, bringing sheep back, you do want to make sure you get a sheep back around that 1:30 to 2-minute mark. Otherwise, your villages will start being less efficient, potentially could stop, and that'd be really bad. So we're just about here to 200 gold, and you can see that our food and our gold are going to line up very nicely. Once we have 9 on food, the next villager will go to wood and build a lumber camp. Because we start with extra wood as Ottoman, we don't have to worry about or bother with straggler trees. It's not going to save us anything, and we actually need much more wood than the straggler trees will provide, so it's not an advantage to harvest them with this type of build. So we've built our lumber camp, and what you're going to see here is that I'm going to cancel this villager and drop the landmark. I know from doing this build many times that I will get the food drop off I need to produce the next villager without a delay and without having to manually drop off. So it's no worries. I'm going to send a second to wood. And what's going to happen here is I've started my landmark with 2, which is less than you typically do with Ottoman, but it's kind of a big part of how this build is going to work. We're going to age up with 2, and we're going to take 3 additional villagers and get them ready to move on to wood. We don't want to move them right away, otherwise we'll be at a food deficit and we won't be able to keep villager production up through all of Dark Age. But we do want to get ready for them to move. And the timing for when they move is we're going to get the second villager onto wood. And then when we have 50 food, over 50 food, that's when we want to move the next 3 villagers. Meanwhile, we're also going to re-rally the TC to stone. You can see my stones way up there. We're going to re-rally the TC to stone. We're going to take 3. Now we've gotten past that 50 food mark and queue a villager. Take 3, send them to wood. Take another one from food and send them to stone. So this is why it's so important to wait that a little bit because we are going to run the rest of Dark Age with only 3 on food, and that's going to slowly eat into this food surplus that we built. Because you need 4 villagers to keep the villager production up. And the reason we can get away with this, especially, is because once our landmarks finishes, we'll get a lot of food very quickly, and then that'll allow us to do whatever we'd like into feudal. So we now have 3 onto stone, and we're going to rally back onto wood, and we want to go up to 8 on wood. And then once we have the 8 on wood, we'll go back to food and start building up our food to 10. Now, when we get to this point, you can see that we could technically just about afford a military school, but if you want to start with Sipahi, you do want to wait to build that military school, so we're going to build the house first. And the reason for that is we want to time the military school to finish right when the landmark finishes. If we build it now, it'd be too early, and then we'd also have to wait for a second landmark because we wouldn't have enough stone. So now that we have about 150 stone, that's the time and the indication that I can start building the military school. So I'll pull one of the villages from stone and start the military school. Now when age up finishes here, what you want to do is you want to take 2 villagers from food and put them on the berries so that you have the traditional 4 on the berry landmark to get that food burst. And you will then be able to finish this military school, get the stone you needed. I could have done a manual drop off here to do that and start the second military school. In this case, since I finished this one before, I'm just gonna wait a moment and then pull onto, a second villager off a stone to just kind of assist with the military school. Now, I do forget here to swap my military school to Sipahi, but you'd want to swap this to Sipahi so you can get that first Sipahi out as fast as you can. Once I have 100 wood, the blacksmith will go down, which you see here. And the last villager on stone is going to wait on the stone until 100. And you do that so that you can afford the third military school when you get the vizier point for it. Meanwhile, we've started to hit 8 under food. We'll keep going on food up to 10. And then once we hit that 10 under food, we will rally back to wood. And these villagers, once they continue producing or complete their buildings, they can start going onto resources. So when the second military school completes, I'm going to start a stable. Since I'm a little short on wood, I'll just assist in the blacksmith for a moment first, and then now I can go on to onto wood. Now, the other thing I didn't talk about, which is actually very important to this build, is that the second you hit feudal, you do want to start wheelbarrow. And then the second I get another 100 gold, I will be able to start double broad axe. And both these will finish around the 615, 620 mark. You can see those timings at the beginning. I'll put them at the end as well. And so you can get both those upgrades extremely early, which will power yourself for like a later feudal push or feudal play, if that's how you're going, or if you need to go to castle, you want those online as soon as possible. And we're going to still leave the 2 on gold. These, all this gold we can put towards, we could put it towards horticulture if we wanted to, but more likely we're going to put it towards blacksmith upgrades to help our army out. So yep, dropping the stable, dropping the blacksmith. And then now once I'm on the stable, you can either rush this out or you can send one of these villagers onto resources. In this case, I'm going to kind of rush it a bit. So at this point, the build opens up a bit depending on how you want to tailor your comp. The most traditional is probably going to want to go for the archers. It's the standard Ottoman play. So what you'll see here is I can drop some ranges and start rallying up to wood and get up to about 10, 12, 13, 14. If I do want to keep Sipahi going, I'll need additional food. And so in this case, I kind of split the difference. I'm going to do some ranges. I'm also going to keep my Sipahis going. So I will go up to about like 12 or 13 on food just to support the Sipahi while adding on the ranges. But if you wanted to, another way you can play this is you can build a few Sipahi for that raiding force, kind of cut the production a bit, and then focus on getting like 3 ranges producing. In that case, you'd stop at like 10 on food and rally onto wood until you have, up to that 20 or so you need to split the ranges. So yeah, the Sipahi coming out, my meadows coming out. In just a moment here, I'll get the 2 from the military school. Those will come out, and then I'll have a pretty sizable Sipahi force. And this could actually, I could already have 3 Sipahi at this point if I didn't, if I didn't mess up switching the military school over. And so you can see I'm dropping the ranges, starting the archer production. Just a moment here. It is important at this point. Our resources are going to be very, very tight through most of this build, the first like 8 minutes or so. I could have a Sipahi queued here, which would reduce it more. I could have some villagers queued, but you do want to make sure that you're able to keep your houses going, keep your villagers going while you're pumping units. We're kind of overproducing production here to set us up for, later. So you just need to be a little mindful of your resources and how you're spending them. And yeah, that's the build. From here, you can play Ottomans how you want. It's really a very similar point to what you would see at the 830 mark with the yellow openings. It's just kind of getting you some of those eco upgrades earlier, getting you kind of some of the things established, I think, more in a more optimal way, and importantly, getting some Sipahi out early so that you could be harassing with these, you could be raiding, and kind of trying to get your opponent off, off kilter to make it a little easier for you. So yeah, that is the build. Thanks for watching.